It's been 12 years since the Marikana massacre, and no one has been held criminally accountable for the killing of the 34 Lonmin mine workers. We caught up with Sentleeng Lehihi, our SABC News reporter, and we go back to him, rather to her. Sentleeng, let's go back to you.
Absolutely. We see the family representatives of the deceased mine workers joined by AMCU President Joseph Mathunjwa here laying wreaths at one of the sites where some of those who passed away fell. We see that as the program began, this was one of the first items in the program. We see leadership there, union representatives. The family is really somber at this very moment, recalling that some of their loved ones, their breadwinners, departed and took their last breath at this very point. You remember that this is where among the 34 fell, one of those scenes. On that fateful day, August 16, 2012, on the days preceding the massacre that we saw here in 2012, there were 10 individuals who also lost their lives, particularly security guards, police officers, and some mine workers. Many of the families who are here still lament the lack of accountability, prosecution of those who are responsible for this mass shooting that claimed 34 lives and a total of 44. We understand that there's a small address, and then we'll prepare for a short prayer and a moment of silence. We hear hymns there, just allowing for the family members to pay their respects. You recall that this is an area that saw a lot of bloodshed, workers lamenting and wanting better wages, demanding better living conditions, and they succumbed, demanding those things. And while we see some improvements in their labor conditions, the adverse poverty that continues in this area is quite telling of the problems that are experienced in mining areas, where most of the wealth is taken, billions worth of platinum, but the people who live on the surface really have nothing to show. We hear prayer coming from one of the religious leaders there, just, beckoning an anointing in this place, a blessing to ensure that the program continues with the utmost respect paid to those who untimely lost their lives. We expect among those to speak to be the legal representative of some of the families and mine workers to give us an update regarding the prosecutions, the compensation that is still outstanding. Many of the families demand not only compensation for their financial losses, they demand significantly compensation for their emotional and psychological distress. Just a moment of silence as the pastor preaches, and I'll also try to make my way closer to hear if we will be able to get word from any of the family members. This is one of the sites just about 20 meters from the infamous Kopi. You remember that the sites of where many of the mine workers fell were quite scattered. Some fell before the Kopi, some fell in the boulders behind the Kopi, and others were found in this area, somewhat seemingly fleeing from the bullets that were raging on that fateful day. Let's just hear from the bishop here, just the word coming in as he's reading from the Bible.
Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the far side of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I'll go over and see the strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush.
We expect that after this reading and the laying of the wreaths, we will then proceed back to the formal program where we will hear a keynote address coming from AMCU President Joseph Mathunjwa. Until then, back to you in studio.
Well, thank you so much to Sentleeng Lehihi, who was showing us visuals of the laying of the wreaths.